Let's go. Alrighty, so I don't know. I think everyone knows what this is. Titled in the top left
So,
corner.
yeah, this is obviously a video of Bill Clinton at the DNC conference. We might play it, but he pretty much outright says if you want your economy back and if you want COVID to go away, the only way for that to happen is if you vote for President Biden.
That's rather suggestive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's rather suggestive.
No, I'm a bit skeptical as to why they'd be so transparent about it. Like, are they about to like jump ship from this plan? They're just like throwing it away and they're burning the bridge. So everyone like that's just basic deception. When you're getting a new plan, you just hand the old plan over so that people would like start fighting and attacking that as a decoy while you come up with your new plan.
Hmm.
That's what I think might be going on. Um,
Yeah, I have it playing with no volume right now, but if people want to read along on what he says.
well, you don't have a mix. You don't have my. Well, I guess it'd save us from copyright headaches, but you don't have your mixer on, so I can't hear it anyways. But that's all right. Just look at the subtitles. So yeah. So he just starts out with bashing Trump, blaming him for everything. Um, this whole thing is basically something to hit Trump with to make him look bad, look like he screwed up, even though like nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Um, it's a philosophical criticism of Darwinism, and it's highly Darwinistic to say that the people who die from coronavirus are going to die anyways, and that offends a lot of people, especially people with old people and old people themselves. Um, so that's why that's the heartstrings that he's trying to pull with.
So he actually goes into how bad our unemployment right is right now, and
Oh,
he goes on about how Trump's economy is failing. But
oh,
if you kind of look back in history, Trump didn't want to close the economy. Actually, Trump wanted to ban travel from China coming into the United States to prevent the COVID from getting onto the United States land. But he was labeled a racist because of it, because it's racist to ban travel.
oh. That's when you say to them, "Oh, you want people to die."
Hmm.
So no, like hello. Anyway,
So what else is he saying?
um, so Joe Biden apparently saved people from a recession. Yeah, okay, all right. Hold on. Here's a very common fallacy I see going on. Bill Clinton. Okay, the national debt was, I guess was it the trillions by then? When Bill Clinton was president, the debt, sure, the debt went down a bit. So the United States like federal balance total, if Lady Liberty did her checkbooks, it went up. The debt was decreased slightly whenever he was president, and people attribute that to the fact to whether it's the president, but that is entirely a correlation error. So why did the debt ease off a bit whenever Clinton was president, but then the debt continued as Obama was president? So
I
yeah, you don't know because these two things don't have any jack shit to do with each other. The debt went down because Clinton's presidency was at the peak of the dot com bubble, and once the bubble popped, the debt continued going. Yeah,
hmm. Okay.
so
So one thing I will mention
so
is that it doesn't really have anything to do with former Vice President. God damn it!
look, okay,
Not
I think the fallacy is called ad hoc ergo propter cock. Ad hoc ergo propter Hawk. Um, it's a correlation without causation, or a correlation and not causation. It doesn't matter who is president. What matters is like the state. First, I think the primary one is about the government regulation and law enforcement restriction on business. People naturally want to compete and naturally want their companies, businessmen naturally want their companies to grow and become rich. And when people have money to pay taxes, and then there is a good enough system, a competent system to provide the minimal necessary services like infrastructure payments, law enforcement, emergency services, military, etc. That's only sustainable when people have the money to pay or are willing to pay and are getting good services out of it. Um, the economics aside, whatever national problems you deal with, it's all about numbers. And no matter who is the president, if we have a bunch of leftist retards in our country doing all the voting, spending all the money, making all the decisions for the entire country, it doesn't matter how long Trump is in office, he won't change shit. If anything, what's going to happen is that we're just going to have things like this, where the Democrats launch the coronavirus, or fucking murder hornets, or World War III with Iran, or whatever stupid shit, whatever. They just throw whatever it is that sticks to the wall, and if it sticks to the wall, that's what they use. They're going to keep doing this until a Democrat is president. So at the very least, as much as I gag on my own words as I say this, at least if we had a Democratic president, the fucking media would shut the fuck up about it, and they'd make fun of something else for a change. We'd actually like be able to watch a legitimate comedy show on TV that's not total garbage.
I
And
don't know. I don't
it's
think we'll
look,
ever get comedy back.
well, who knows? The bottom line, it's about the people. It's about people like you and me that, well, you and me times literally millions, that causes any tangible change in a country's economic or political situation. It is not the people in charge, or not what kind of people in charge. Like, police corruption is also a numbers thing. The police corruption will only change whenever the average police officer times a million changes. Doesn't matter what the chief says. The chief can be a corrupt wad of shit, but if he's doing things like the Yakuza do in Japan, they're just basically like working for the government for free. And the government will tolerate them because they actually produce, for the most part, a net benefit to the community. And that's why, a multinational criminal organization headquartered in Japan like the Yakuza is getting a free pass from the government. Because the Yakuza is like, it's like a, I don't know what you call it. It's like a backdoor invisible hand that does the dirty work. Organized crime will squash petty crime, and that's why petty crime rates are very low in Japan. Just don't piss off the Yakuza, and they'll clean up your neighborhood for you, free of charge. That's kind of how the mafia functioned back in the Roaring Twenties, or whenever the hell they were around. Um, the U.S. government, the relationship between the U.S. government and the Italian mafia were very similar to that of the current day Japanese government with the Yakuza. Um, and petty crime, obviously, it's very the size difference between petty crime versus, I guess, more serious charges like drug trafficking, murder, extortion, etc. The scale at which the federal spending is allocated to fight petty crime, I would imagine, is at least equal to that of more serious crimes. So it would be a net saving for the federal government to like leave the mafia or an American yakuza alone, especially when it keeps the neighborhoods clean. And that is, yes, it is corruption. However, I don't know. Sometimes it does have a net benefit to the common people. You know, and that's because it's like two businesses interacting. They're two bodies interacting with each other. The situation we have in America, where the most of the gangs are just really highly disorganized, like petty criminals, like the MS-13 or some black neighborhood gangs. There's very little to no organization, and the government is the only like gang in town, so to speak. They have complete and utter control, and there's nobody to like counterbalance. There's nobody for them to do real exchanges with because they're the only ones that, I mean, no, well, I mean, for God's sake, they control the value of the U.S. dollar, and yeah, so it's not symbiotic like the Japanese government and the yakuza. Um, and is the is like is a gang being contracted by the government necessarily better than this system? I'm not gonna say it is because I don't know, but yeah, it does help to shrink the size of the government, the federal government at least, because the yakuza is like a shadow. That's what's called a shadow government. So until your Boogaloo boys come up and start a new shadow government, then we're gonna have this monopoly, and monopolies are bad.
Hmm. Well, I will put this
Um,
one thing out. Sorry to interrupt
Go ahead. Go ahead.
your yeah, monopolies are bad. But so being vice president, I remember specifically like seventh grade or eighth grade, one of my teachers saying that so being vice president is probably one of the easiest jobs in politics. You're literally just the backup. Like think of I know you don't know anything about sports, but think of Tom Brady. He's like one of the better football players, and he's been playing for like forever. And apparently, he's like a vampire or something because he doesn't age. But his backup never plays, almost never plays. He just shows up and gets paid. That's it. And so
Yeah, the vice president is the
him,
National Guard
so
of the
Bill
executive branch.
Clinton, Bill Clinton coming out and saying that, oh yeah, Obama and Biden did this, and Obama and Biden did this. No, that was all Obama. Everything that Obama did was from Obama. It wasn't from both of them. Okay, and very rarely do you actually see the vice president and the president in the same room because they actually try to keep them separate for security reasons. You don't want the the president and the vice president in the same room because that opens the door for someone to just lose their shit. Like say like one of the guards just decided to go AWOL and just shoot both of them. Fucking the
Hmm.
leaders of the free world are now gone. So that's the reason why you don't hardly ever see them together.
Right.
But
Oh,
yeah,
it also protects the advice from flying shoes, in case you remember that.
and 2009 happened because of Obama. So Ford, GM, and a couple other companies flew to Washington D.C. and showed up to the White House and said, "We're out of money." And Obama said, "No, you're not. You flew here in private jets. You have money." And then the economy crashed. And my former place of employment, there was an older gentleman who had always quoted that every single time whenever we were talking about something. Well, if you look back at 2008, the president at the time said that you guys have money, and then but they didn't actually have money. So everyone lost their jobs in aircraft, everyone lost their jobs in car companies, everyone lost their jobs because it actually all started with the car companies not getting bailed out by the government immediately.
Well, I've been told a different story. I thought the 2009 crash began with the housing bubble, but
That was a part of it.
well, here's the thing. First of all, corporate welfare is just as bad as interpersonal social welfare. You're continuing to sustain a failing company with crappy business models that are just going to fail again and go back on corporate welfare. So I'd be fully against bailing out companies to begin with. And second, these companies may have been able to stay afloat if it weren't for price controls. If you couldn't price gouge your cars, it's the reason why we can't is because fucking stupid people don't understand economics, and they don't understand that having a shortage is better than having a complete dearth. It's better to have low supply than no supply. And in order to sustain the low supply whenever there's serious supply chain disruptions, you have to increase your price. You gouge your price because demand is low. I mean, the supply is low, but the demand is high. That means high prices. Just a couple notes and regarding that. Furthermore, it's just like, didn't isn't GM like moving some of its assets to like China?
Tesla has actually bought a couple. I think I know for a fact one, but I don't know if they bought one or multiple. But Tesla has actually bought some abandoned, I guess you could say, GM factories recently. Well, not abandoned, but sold to Tesla,
Hmm.
and Tesla's buying up that. So I don't know. We'll see what the future holds.
I just wanted to drop another a quick note, just some food for thought. If there's any multi-billion-dollar corporations choosing to leave America and going to China, a fucking absolutist communist dictatorship state, what what does that say about your so-called home of capitalism, land of the free, home of the brave? Like, in what kind of twisted alternate dimension would a corporation prefer to be under a communist state than a capitalist one? Something's really wrong. Something doesn't seriously doesn't add up. Just let that sink in. Food for thought.
Hmm.
But
Well, we're at 16 minutes, and
yeah.
I will. Do you want to keep on talking, or?
I just wanted to point out one last thing. So, okay, so good old Billy here, he mentioned, okay, like here's what I think is just gonna fly right over people's heads, and we can't, of course, we can't really tell because the comments are probably disabled since we're watching a video from a national news company. The, people people aren't going to notice that this is essentially a just slightly less than explicit ultimatum. They're negotiating like terrorists. You either vote Biden, or you're gonna see more coronavirus, more riots, more bullshit news on the airwaves. That's an ultimatum you get from terrorists holding hostages. So, in some ways, you could interpret this as terrorism. That's how the Democrats are doing their shit. You give us what we want, otherwise we will threaten violence and chaos upon you. Do you negotiate with terrorists? I'll leave you to answer that question on your own. I hope you know the answer. And yeah,
Well, we don't negotiate with terrorists, and we certainly don't negotiate with their hostages.
yeah.
So,
So you gotta be like Captain Price in Modern Warfare. You remember that scene? So
um,
there's like a bunch of, so Alcatala was having like about 12 hostages lined up, and there was like this one guy in a suit, and he had all the bombs strapped to him, and he's got a gag in his
oh
mouth.
yeah, yeah.
And
They didn't have time to save him.
no,
So to
no,
save
okay.
everyone
Well,
else,
actually, here,
they threw him off.
Alex, the guy you play as in the mission, he was trying to defuse the bomb, but it was like it only had like 5 seconds left, and Price was like, get the fuck out of the way, let me handle this, and he just throws the guy off of the balcony, and yeah, he blows up, but the other 11 people are alive. So
That
that's
was
what you got to.
gas.
That was Gaz.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
gas.
you're playing as Gaz. Oh yeah, right. Okay. I
In
thought
that
you.
mission, it was gas. It wasn't Alex.
What was
Alex
it?
was he was fighting with
With
the
like
Kurd.
with
Well,
Farah.
with the Kurds. Really, is who they were based off of. He was fighting with the
Right.
Kurds most of the
I think
game.
they're called like Urziks in the game, in the obviously real country of Urzikstan, and yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, it was Gaz was in
But
the UK, right? Yeah, because
yeah,
that mission was
because he's
in
British.
Britain, right? Okay. Oh yeah.
Well,
Don't be Gaz. Be Price. Sometimes you gotta cut your losses to let your winners run. So anyway, yeah, we're on 20 minutes. You can roll the outro.
Uh, well, if you like our content and would you like to see more, please go down into the description, click on the link that'll take you right over to AVC's channel. You can go over there and check out his gaming content and his other political opinions over there. Make sure you give him plenty of love, like and subscribe on all of his videos. And if you don't do it, I'm going to kill a fluffy animal. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Rawer XD.